Now, as the flags fly on the Cuban embassy in D.C., does this also mean the welcome flags are flying for businesses dying to get in on the action in Cuba? The Peterson Institute for International Economics said merchandise exports to Cuba could reach $4.3 billion annually, while exports from Cuba could reach $5.8 billion annually, up from zero today. So you can imagine that all kinds of cities, particularly up and down the seaboard in Florida, are really itching to get involved here. Let's bring in Greater Tampa Chamber of Commerce CEO Bob Rohrlack in a Fox Business exclusive. Bob, what kind of potential business activity are you already hearing about, are you anticipating and hoping for?
Sure. Thank you for having me. We're expecting to see a lot of growth taking place with technology. They're very hungry for communication technology that we have here in the United States. There also are opportunities for agricultural and manufacturing goods and services in Cuba as they look to rebuild with a lot of pent-up demand for new growth down there. So we're expecting to see more growth as our airport, one of the top airports in the world, still taking people down to Cuba, as well as Port Tampa Bay being successful engaging with Cuba as well. So we plan to be the gateway to Cuba.
You just went in May to Cuba. Tell me what you saw. What was it like there?
We've taken several trips there. There is obviously a need for change and the embargo and the impact it's having there. Our last meeting, which was a little over a month ago, we met with the port at Mariel, which is undergoing massive explosive growth. It was interesting to see how many of our allies are already there, are already staking out ground in that port, as well as where they're planning on having different segments of targeted industries that they're going after, and the incentive plans that they have in place to attract those businesses to be at that port. That was fascinating. On the other hand, we toured one of the leading cancer hospitals in Cuba, and there is dramatic need for pharmaceutical and medical help that we can give from our country. We have two medical agencies here in our community that are already continuing to engage with Cuba and look at how we can help on the healthcare side of things.
I mean, do you believe that this will actually happen before the embargo can be lifted, Bob? And you and I know this. Those lawsuits have to be dealt with, I think. Isn't that the truth? And so you can't just start sending the money over and exporting and importing, right?
Sure. Well, that's two issues. The embargo is one issue, which obviously we all are making sure we follow every letter of the law that's in place. That's important. So we do that with all the activities we've had. The issue with the lawsuits and the economic impact and the embargo, we're leaving that to the two governments to decide. That's not an issue for us to handle, but we're looking at what is allowed, which now health, medical, pharmaceutical to limited ability is allowed, as well as agricultural and some very limited technology. So what's allowed today, we're taking advantage of, and how things develop in the future, we're watching very closely here.
We sent Phil Keating down to a coast in Florida where he had seen all kinds of businesses, mostly fishing boats who want to take tours to Cuba, to what no doubt are pristine waters around the area. And, you know, if you just put in Cuba/anything.com, people are snapping up the websites. I mean, we could show you a whole bunch of them. These are fascinating because it's that sort of spirit, that entrepreneurial spirit that Americans have. Do you think the Cubans have it too?
Well, we're already seeing it. The government there has allowed people to open restaurants within their homes called paladors. And we frequented many of them while we were there to see how they're doing that entrepreneurial business. Very successful, very well done, good quality meals that were being served. We also took adventure out to their resort area to see how they are dealing with the tourism market, and they're being very successful. We have to keep in mind that the United States is the only country with an embargo. The rest of the world is engaging with Cuba. Right now in Tampa, when you get on a plane to fly to Cuba, it's a shorter flight to Havana than it is to Washington, D.C.
Wow.
So
yeah,
the ability to engage in that market is something we need to be taking full advantage of and plan on doing within the letter of the law.
Bob Rohrlack, Greater Tampa Chamber of Commerce CEO, thank you so much.
Thank you.